Go.
Hi, Jade. So, obviously you're not here, and that's a shame. I know you're very ill, so, but that's okay. I wrote you a story, and I don't think I'll get a chance to read it to you before we break up for Christmas, so I'm gonna read it to you now. I know how much you like action movies, so this is a story I wrote for you, and it's called Revenge is a Dish Best Served Christmas. An action crime thriller by Thomas J. Hoof. The snow was building up on the outside window frame of Jade's kitchen. It bordered the picturesque winter view like an idyllic Christmas postcard. Jade stood and watched while she held Archimedes in her arms gently. He wrinkled his little pink rabbit's nose with his eyes closed, and Jade smiled softly. She put him down on the kitchen table and reached for a hot cocoa. The subtle bouquet of winter spices tickled her nostrils and made her think of Christmases gone by. Jade lived alone, a widow, kept company in her cottage only by the soft white fur of Archimedes, which to Jade, on this perfect, cozy Christmas Eve, was enough. Jade's eyes darted down as she saw the shimmering reflection of a laser sight finding target on her Christmas trumpet. She dropped her mug and spiraled, quickly darting to the side as the glass shattered with the impact of a high-velocity round. She sat with her back to the cabinets, out of the line of sight of the shooter's fire. Quickly opening the cabinet to her left, she pulled out two Scorpion VZ-61 submachine guns that were taped to the underside of the sink. Darting up from her position, she emptied both of the cartridges out of the window towards the origin of the shot. As she did, the screeching of tires cut through the gunfire and the shattering glass as a black van drove away. Clips empty, Jade kept a keen eye on the streets outside. Someone must have put a hit out on her. It wasn't safe here. She had to take Archimedes and find somewhere to lay low until she could figure this out. Jade turned around to grab him. The guns in her hands hit the kitchen floor. The high-velocity .50 caliber bullet she had dodged had hit Archimedes. The walls in front of her were dripping in the red and white explosion of her friend. Oh. Small tufts of fur were still gently falling like the snow she had just been watching.
Josh! That's great.
Jade fell to her knees and clambered towards the edge of the table, trying to scream, but no sound came out. Only tears. She touched the blood that dripped off the table with the tips of her fingers, and in a fit of hysteria and desperation pressed them to her cheek. Her silent screams turned into guttural loud sobs. She turned back to the shattered window and began to scream in a harrowing fury, "Archimedes!" 2 hours of screaming and sobbing went by before Jade took a dish towel hanging from the oven door and began to soak it in the pooled blood of Archimedes. She firmly tied the blood-sodden cloth around her wrist and looked once more out into the night. "I swear to you, Archimedes, whoever did this to you will drown in their own blood. They will understand the meaning of pain." Jade grabbed a duffel bag and walked into the utility cupboard where she punched through the plaster to reach the access panel hidden behind. Typing in the passcode, the back wall started to open, revealing a narrow staircase. She slammed the duffel bag on the central table of her armory and began to fill it. 2 gold-plated Desert Eagles, 2 Chris Vector submachine guns, 2 SAVZ-23s with shortened barrels for a wider spray, 1 Glock 40, 1 modified Smith & Wesson 6-round, 2 Colt 38s, 1 M16, 1 UMP-45, 1 AK-47, 4 grenades, 2 sticks of dynamite. It's been a long time, she thought to herself, but maybe it's time that she came out of retirement. Jade smoked a cigarette as she drove through the city streets. Now numb to her own sadness, she felt only pain. A pain that boils rapidly into anger. An anger that can't be stopped. She knew the round used was rare, even in the assassination game. Full metal jacket, 50 caliber with an exploding tip. Whoever this was wasn't taking any chances with her. Jade ran a red light and tossed her butt out into the snowy street. Chances for jabronis. There was only one scumbag who could get his hands on ammo like that in the city. Reese Gabrinsky.
Of course.
Gabrinsky peddled firepower to whoever had the cheddar to press into his palm. He operated out of a warehouse that fronted as a Christmas decoration supply store. Jade looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror. She still had Archimedes' blood on her cheek. Looks like I'm going Christmas shopping. Jade pulled up outside the warehouse and got straight out of the car and walked swiftly and boldly up to the front door. Two goons were outside smoking and eating sandwiches next to large boxes of Santa hats. Hey, you can't be here, lady. We're closed. One goon said, wiping the mustard away from his lips. Jade carried on walking into the proximity. Hey, stop right there, lady. Who do you think you are? Jade headbutted the goon closest to her so hard that his front teeth smashed out. She then roundhouse kicked him directly into the windpipe and sent his body flying 5 feet back. The other goon dropped his sandwich and fumbled around for his gun in his oversized leather jacket. Jade quickly drew her small Colt 38 and shot him in the mouth. Blood splattered onto the brick behind him and his lifeless corpse landed face down. Jade took one of the Santa hats from the box and put it on. She looked down at the now suffocating goon on the floor. I'm fucking Santa Claus. She kicked open the door, where there were now 5 men with guns alerted from Jade's first shot. She opened her duster and drew 2 vectors as they opened fire on her. The bullets began to pepper the wall behind her and tear up the boxes of tinsel and baubles that now rained down in the center of the warehouse. Jade immediately took shot one. Jade immediately shot one in the chest and another through the stomach with 3 rounds who fell back onto a conveyor belt full of snow globes. Quickly darting behind boxes and out of sight, the 3 remaining gunmen began to empty their clips into the stack. When the fire ceased and they edged closer to the now ruined boxes, Jade began to open fire from prone position on the conveyor belt that pulled her into the center of the room. 2 more went down in a hail of bullets. The last man ran to the belt, drawing a knife and striking out. Jade rolled off as he lunged forward. She grabbed the back of his head and slammed it onto the belt. The friction of the thick rubber began to scrape and burn his skin. Jade picked up one of the snow globes and began stoving his head until the 8th strike caved his skull and the life left his body. Jade shook the globe and left it on top of his battered head. That's the last Christmas present you'll ever get. Jade climbed the stairs that led to Grabinsky's office. She barged in as he shot at her, missing twice. She kicked the gun from his hand and then slammed his face onto the desk, striking him unconscious. When he awoke, he found himself taped upside down to his chair with no pants on. Jade placed the bullet casing of the round that was fired outside of a cottage on his desk. Gabrinsky struggled. What the fuck? Who? What? Jesus, what the fuck is up my ass? Jade struck a match and moved it between his legs to light the fuse. Dynamite. Dynamite! He screamed and began to struggle even harder. Jade leant onto the desk and nodded to the bullet. By my count, you have about 58 seconds until you explode ass first all over your office. So start talking, Gabrinsky. Who bought this ammunition off you? Gabrinsky started breathing heavily. Listen, just calm down. Take it easy. Well, Jesus, just put it out, please. Put it out. I'll talk. Then talk. Jade grunted. Seriously, you gotta put it out. What the fuck, please, lady? Jade sighed, picked up the shell and began to walk out. Wait, what are you doing? He whimpered. Jade stopped at the door. Getting out of the blast radius. No, please. Okay, a hitman. It was a hitman. He was called Pierre Potshot. He came in and he bought some 3 days ago. Please put it out, I swear. That's all I know, I swear. Jade carried on walking, leaving the pews lit. She could hear the screams coming from the office as he walked out of the warehouse. You crazy bitch! I'll kill you! Oh, Jesus Christ, no! The explosion echoed out of the warehouse and blew a hole in the roof. Slates scattered and rained onto the snow as Jade climbed back into her car. She lit another cigarette and watched the building burn. Sorry, Grabinski. Looks like you were on my naughty list. And it looks like you're on my dead list. A voice came from the back seat. Potshot, I presume, Jade said, looking at his gaunt, pointed features in the rear view. He had a German Luger pointed at her head. I knew you would find the casing and trace it back here. It was just a matter of waiting. Jade stared coldly at him. You killed my rabbit. Phew, scoffed Potshot. The blood of your rabbit is on the hands of my employer. I was doing a job that I came here to finish. He shot his weapon at the back of Jade's head, but she quickly dodged to the left and unhooked the seat lock. Unhooked the seat lock, moving it back and crushing his legs. She opened the door, span out, drawing her Glock, and began shooting at the back seat. Potshot was quick. Rolling to the other door and out onto the ground, he aimed at Jade's feet underneath the car as she ran towards a recycling bin for cover. Not bad for a retired assassin, he shouted from across the lot. Jade pulled the pin on a grenade and lobbed it in his direction. The explosion blew up the car as Potshot dived out of the way, rolling back to his feet. Not bad for a French creep. They both ran across the lot, shooting at one another until their ammo was out. Looks like you're out of ammo, Potshot smirked. So are you, replied Jade. Oh, but I always have a trick up my sleeve. Potshot swiftly drew a sword from the sleeve of his duster. Upon the blade was etched the word, trick. Jade sighed as he ran towards her. I hate swords. Potshot began wildly, but expertly swinging the steel at her. Jade was barely managing to dodge his attacks, dipping, diving, and bending. He switched at Jade's legs, but she leapt from the ground, jumping over the blade, and kicked him in the face. As he reeled back, his nose bleeding, Jade made a run for the ladder of a rickety old metal fire escape that clung to the side of the burning warehouse. Potshot hastily followed her up the ladder. She had nowhere to run as the flames licked at the story above. The jump down would surely break her legs. End of the line, Jade. Potshot shouted smugly. Now it is time for you to die, he exclaimed, reloading his Luger. At least tell me who hired you, Jade pleaded. For Archimedes, she said, showing him the blood-stained cloth. Very well. It was a mid-tier mafia boss called Vincenzo Vellucci. He raised his gun to her. Just one more thing, Potshot. Do you freaks celebrate Christmas in France? Potshot looked confused. Of course we do. Jade raised her head. They merry fucking Christmas. She span around and with a tremendous roundhouse kick, broke the two iron bars that suspended her end of the escape. As her side began to drop, she jumped up and grabbed hold of the level above. The platform swung out from underneath Potshot's feet as he fell to the ground, breaking both of his legs with a great exclamation of pain. As she dangled above him, he rolled over onto his back. Sacre bleu. Jade let go, and using the velocity of the drop, landed knee first onto his neck, crushing his windpipe and breaking his spine. The extraordinary force of the final blow caused him to bite through his own tongue, and his eyes bulged out of his head. Jade brushed herself off and bandaged her wounds. She clambered back into her car and lit a cigarette. Vincenzo Vellucci. Looks like we got a mob buster whack, she said, looking at the cloth on her wrist. As Jade drove off into the night, she thought back to that perfect moment before all of this. The smell of cocoa, the soft white fur of her best friend, the snow resting on the ground around her couch. Tears poured down her face and began to wash the blood still on her cheek. I love you, Archimedes,